Hello, my soul friends. It is Victoria on the Soul Nurture channel, a channel devoted to helping you reclaim your beautiful soul potential, connecting to your true, authentic nature, and navigating this human experience with what I call sacred awareness, that soulful awareness that you are a soul having a human experience. So, welcome. If this is your first time to my channel, trust there's no accident. Trust that you were drawn here. You decided to click on this video for a reason. Go watch some of my other videos if they speak to you. I invite you to subscribe and stick around, comment a lot, as much as you want. Request topics for me to cover, and let me know where you're viewing from. So welcome. So what is on my heart today? I'm just, working with clients, seeing the world, experiencing my own subconscious stuff being stirred up. I want to talk about self-compassion and why it is often difficult for us to receive our own beautiful compassion. And I'm going to teach you some tricks to practice in offering yourself compassion. It's a big topic that I'm going to just cover in a short video that probably I can expand hours and hours and hours, but we'll try to make it short and sweet to meet you right where you are. I love this quote from Louise Hay that kind of sets up the conversation today, and that is, remember, you've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself and see what happens. I do love that. Now, why don't we do that, right? Well, first of all, I want to say that I always say we don't blame our parents or our caregivers, our family of origins. They were doing the best they could with the programming they received, the instructions they received from their family, their moms and dads and family members, and all of the unconscious agreements that family of origins have. Awakening soul potential means questioning all of that. And right away, if you grew up in a very negative environment and not a lot of compassion and positive reflection, typically our inner voice becomes a combination of the external voices we heard. So it is a good practice to, when you hear yourself being so hard on yourself or negative or judging, ask yourself, whose voice is this? Because I guarantee you, it is not your soul's wisdom. It is not your authentic essence voice. It is most likely someone's voice that you took in because it was familiar. And we tend to do to ourselves or be with ourselves in the ways that those who helped raise us were with us. It's a really interesting, tricky thing that I've come up with witnessing my clients and myself over the many years. I would even say 30 plus. I started as a baby. In this transformational journey, just really being present. And this is a big key to accessing and practicing your own self-compassion. It is learning to be the compassionate witness of your human experience, okay? And we'll talk a little bit about that, a little more about that. I love this quote also from Tara Brach, who's been one of my favorite teachers about compassion. She has many books about acceptance, and she's just a beautiful teacher, and so I highly recommend her work. But this is, this misconception that when you're on a spiritual journey and you've been doing your soul work and your inner work and you're really waking up to higher possibilities, that it's all, rainbow and butterflies. No, is it? It's not for me. I mean, certainly the longer you stay with your inner work, your reclaiming work, the more spaciousness you have inside this inner world, this body that your soul lives in. And the more awareness you have of when you're falling backwards or you're going back into that default programming. But so her quote is, awakening self-compassion is often the greatest challenge people face on a spiritual path. And again, that may seem counterintuitive, like, well, shouldn't it get easier? Here's the thing why it doesn't for those of you who've been on a spiritual journey for a long time, because we go deeper. We go into deeper, more nooks and crannies of areas that were in the unconscious that we're reclaiming. And this is what I talk a lot about on this channel healing, transformation, but really the word that is what my work is about is reclaiming the essence of you, reclaiming all that you needed in order to activate your potential, reclaiming and cultivating the strengths you need to keep yourself growing, right? Compassion is one of those things that we need on the journey of unfolding, right? So I know a lot of clients I work with struggle with compassion, but I'm going to give you an entry point to it. But for now, if you feel like, like maybe let's do a little rating, 1 to 10, 10 super high, 1 not so much. Where are you currently on an average, with your self-compassion on a day-to-day basis? Sometimes we have really good days, we're really connected, we're really honoring of our journey, of ourselves. And then there are those days when you're taken over, by the negative thoughts and the critical voices, and all the doubt and all the fear. So average that out, right? Do you get swallowed up in that negativity, or are you able to push back and say, no, I know who I am? Offering yourself compassion, acceptance and compassion that kind of work together. So just noticing, but if it's hard to access compassion and say you're a 1 or a 2, then I invite you to switch to curiosity. Be curious. Be curious about, where did I learn to be so hard on myself? Whose voice is that? What am I needing? Where am I most wounded that I can't even access myself with compassion? Who am I being disloyal to if I be really compassionate to myself? This is a big one. It's deeply unconscious. We have a loyalty bond with our family members often, because that's where we got our first bond with, this is where I'm going to get my needs met. And many of us didn't get our needs met there, but we're still unconsciously cycling around, hoping and wishing that someday they'll meet the needs, and then someday we'll blossom. Someday we'll be who we're meant to be. And I'm sure you have felt and realized by now that is not the case. Am I right? And again, this isn't blaming family. This is recognizing and honoring where you are and what you need to fulfill the promises of your soul, what Creator put in you to fulfill. To recognize we're all unique and individuals, and maybe the people who raised you didn't have what you needed. So where do we go from there? You must cultivate what you need. And here's the thing that I have found, and I'm writing about this, and I teach my clients about this, that, well, first of all, people who have a lot of compassion for others, it's typically that you have had a journey of a lot of pain and a lot of challenges and a lot of perhaps not feeling honored or seen at the level of your wounds. And so you've been cultivating this deep well of compassion, and it's deep, isn't it? I am one of these people that I speak of. So we can feel into the world, and we have so much compassion for what's going on in the world, so much compassion when we hear stories of other struggles. And this is a beautiful thing. Like, perhaps, I wonder if you recognize yourself in this. Maybe I noticed for me, one of my wounds as a kid was like, I was in plays and whatnot, and nobody came to my shows. No one was available to do that. And to this day, I can recognize it, and I still just allow the tears and say at the end of like we go watch my husband's niece and her gymnastics, and she's amazing. But at the end, I'm crying a combination of tears, joyful tears for her and celebration of her, all of her hard work and being celebrated. And then there are tears for my younger self for not having that experience. And I can recognize both. So curiosity allows us to be curious, and to be able to move into that. I call it the sacred awareness, but like in Buddhism, it is the compassionate witness. And when you're witnessing, yes, I need that. I needed that. That younger me needed that. So the more compassion you have for others, it's really a way to lead you back to bringing that compassion back to yourself. Where is it needed? What are you, when you're crying and feeling for others, what are you wishing for them? That is a deep soul call to answer what you need for healing, right? So this is why I always say include yourself in your own healing, include yourself in your own messaging to others. And, the big thing I've been cultivating over the years, I call it, taking your own advice, sipping from your own soul medicine. Soul medicine is something I came up with that means all the strengths you've cultivated out of your wounded experiences that we tend to give to others that we most need, right? This is my wounded healers out there. This is your elixir. This is your medicine. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about tapping into that in just a moment. So another term I use is soul tracking. Soul tracking, witnessing yourself through the experience of the essence of you, the soul that is compassionate, loving, mindful, that we're in an earth school, learning, growing, evolving, right? So soul tracking is just kind of noticing, and in third person kind of works, there's Victoria, she's being hard on herself today. Oh, okay. I wish she could see the many ways she is, unique and special and gifted in her own way. I wish she could see that. I wish she could embody that. And you know how we do that for others. So practicing that for yourself. So paying attention, some ways to compassionately witness your human experience and to connect the unconscious to the conscious awareness where we can make conscious choices. You do things differently. This inner work, this soul work, this conscious, compassionate reclaiming and shifting is the greatest contribution you can make to others, especially if you're a mom or a dad. The more you take responsibility for your inner world and say, I'm not going to carry on the hand-me-down beliefs and the patterns that were limiting and without compassion, I'm going to do it differently. And then you get to teach your kids and your people around you another way of being with you and in being with themselves. And I always say this to parents, when you do your inner work, you get like this and you upgrade, your family members get like that download instant, like, yeah, here's new possibilities. You don't have to be stuck in negativity and judgment. You can be compassionate. You can be more accepting of yourself and others. Okay. All right. I'm watching the time because I want to keep this short. So one thing in reclaiming your passion for you, well, I have a few little tips. Here's a big one. Right? You're always like, when you're in soul consciousness and not immersed in your human experience, you can then notice what's yours to reclaim and include yourself with. And here's the simplest way I found, right? I often say, practice what you post. That's tip number one. What are you posting on Instagram or Facebook on a regular basis? What's the messaging? And where do you need to take that advice? Where do you need to practice that? So you're not just putting it out there for others. You're like, yeah, that's my soul guiding me back to a higher possibility for me. Also, when you text people or you encourage people, make note. You might want to, something I did a while back when I first discovered this. I just jot down in my journal or just a piece of paper where, like, what did I say to people today that was encouraging, inspirational, motivational? Write them down. And what message do I most need, right? Our soul is like throwing out in front of us all of this wisdom. And so here's why, part of the reason I'm been sitting with this for a long time. Why don't we take our own compassion? Number one, you may have a message that it's not safe for you to have what you need and be who you're meant to be. Number two, you have a deep unconscious belief that you're not worthy of receiving what you desire. And number three, because we learn about who we are and our identity is by the way people reflected back to us. It's like we're waiting for somebody to say, it's okay now, you can love and accept yourself. And it also feels like disloyalty if you do something other than what you learned as a child, right? So you need to give yourself permission and authorize that it's safe and you're worthy of your own compassion. Okay. And then you need to begin to practice it. And when you find yourself judging and in a just a downward spiral of negativity, you need to catch yourself. You know, the greatest way I teach my clients all the time is just, and I do believe I got this from Tara Brach and many other teachers, but you place your hand over your heart, just right here. Just stop right there inside of your heart. Breathe into your heart. Imagine breathing into compassion. And exhaling all judgment. Breathing into acceptance. Breathing out all doubt and fear. And just imagine the well of your compassion is in your heart. As is, I believe, this is where the divine meets us. So you're in good company, being held in your own heart space. And just repeat, again, if you don't feel worthy of your own compassion, I'm willing. Willingness is the next step to transformation. When you're in a block, curiosity, what would it look like? Willingness, hey, I'm open. I need to be instructed. Guide me, God. Guide me, soul. Guide me. Wisdom I give to others. Okay? What does it look like? And then if you don't know, this is where I always guide my clients to look for people who embody compassion, self-compassion. What do they do? How do they take care of themselves? How do they speak to themselves about themselves? How do they just notice, and say, oh, that's compassion in action. I want that. I deserve that. I'm worthy of that. It's safe for me to have that. And then maybe you write down what you observe and then you start practicing it. That is how we learn. And that's how we move out of what I call the old neighborhood to the new neighborhood. You practice your way, walking differently on that path towards your possibilities. Okay, see if I have anything else. The other thing is, again, if you have difficulty accessing your flow of compassion, what would you say to your best friend? Or what would your best friend say to you? Or what do you imagine your younger self needed to hear? And you must begin practicing that way so that it becomes natural and normal, and it becomes your new normal. It becomes the new place you live and have your being through. And maybe you just write down the things people say about you. I remember for years when I first started my practice 25 years ago, and when I started to go professional, bring myself out more, I had so many limiting thoughts and disbelief and doubt and fear and all that stuff that happens when you're about to break free from old way of being. And I was blessed with a lot of testimonials early in my career, and I still get them from time to time. And I'll tell you what, I still love them. But in the beginning, I put together a book, and when I would be like, "Who do you think you are? What are you doing?" Believe me, that voice still comes, especially because I'm doing something new now. I'm on video, a new thing. Like sometimes I'm like, "What are you doing? You're putting it all out there," and this is recorded, and people are watching. I'm like, no, this is a soul call. And I'm going to just diffuse all the fear and the doubt and show up. And this is where comments are helpful for me, because when that doubt comes, I helped somebody today. Somebody was touched by something I said. Yay. Keep going, keep growing, right? But I made a book of testimonials, and you could do your own version. Write down, what you've heard from other people with those positive reflections that you might have rejected. Another key is you need to learn to receive. Don't bat away a compliment. I was notorious for this. I love that blouse. Oh, this blouse, I got it at Goodwill. What's the undercurrent message there? It's not that good, and I'm not that good, right? You want to learn to receive. Thank you. If all you say is thank you, receive it. Take it in. I always use this example of when you're feeding a baby new food that's good for them and nutritious and nourishing. What do they first do? They spit it out because it's not familiar. So don't spit out the thing you need. When someone is trying to give you some encouragement, some inspiration, some love, some positive reflection, take it in. Enjoy it. Let it nourish your soul and your body and your being. So let me do that for you right now. And notice how you are in receiving what I have to say to you, okay? And you may feel like spitting it out, but I encourage you to try again and take it in and let it nourish your soul, nurture your body, mind, system. So here we go. You matter. You are here for a significant, beautiful purpose. Your presence on the planet is a gift to everyone. The more you honor your journey, your wounds, your gifts, your unique way of being, the more you let your light shine, and we need your light. So just know that you are loved and accepted. I honor you, I see you, I feel you, I have compassion for you, and I invite you into your own compassion for yourself, for there you will truly bloom and blossom. All right, thanks for being with me. Do comment, do subscribe if you haven't, request topics for me to cover, and stay connected. Sending you so much love today. Peace and blessings to all of you. See you next time.